Hello. I am hoping, indeed, it looks like we are now live on YouTube. Apologies while we quickly
Are we
do.
going to Inception it?
Yeah, apologies while we
That's definitely us, yeah.
quickly inception ourselves. Hello. And I have to listen to my own voice. Fate worse than death. Hello, I am Jessica,
I'm Dave.
and this is Emergency Hedge, the show
Welcome, welcome.
where I teach Dave Netrunner, and Dave.
I I teach you Arkham, and we both try not to suck at streaming.
Uh, and this week, after a few weeks of hiatus, we are returning to the wonderful, futuristic cyberpunk world of Netrunner. And there's been some big news in the Netrunner universe, hasn't there, Dave?
It has indeed. We have had the Liberation Cycle announced, which sounds very exciting. It's got a lovely, oh my goodness, uh, Sabia bird symbol, which I like very much. It's
Yeah,
got a really meaty bit of theme about the liberation of birods and clones,
yeah,
and the potential reversal thereof,
yeah.
um,
It
which I think
feels
is gone.
feels very thematic for a lot of things that are going on with the real world these days. With like, look, it's not even about them being liberated within that country. It's about their rights being rolled back, which feels like just like a constant struggle at the moment. And yeah, it just feels really thematic and very NSG, and really exciting.
Yep. I think it's really cool that we're going to get a new um, mechanic that spans Corp and Runner. Um, I was saying on Discord that I think uh, I love the new mechanics in Borealis, but it it they were almost entirely, I think, on the runner side, weren't they? The Corps really didn't go looking,
Yeah,
um, and I think something that's balanced between the two sounds really promising.
absolutely. Do you have any speculation up your sleeve for what you think that new mechanic might be?
Only borrowed speculation. There has been a suggestion doing the rounds that it will scale something that scales in some way by the number of agendas scored, something like that.
I think that
Um,
would be. I think I think that's a good call personally. But like, what does the question then is? What will it do with that?
well, I wonder whether it will be there will be a number of cards that key off that
Yeah,
variable and provide some benefit or damage to the opposing player related to that variable.
yeah. What I will say is that I really hope it is the number of agenda points in your opponent's score area rather
Mm,
than the
mm.
number of agendas, because we don't want to just like um, attach stock buyback to every deck
Yep.
in in Netrunner.
Yes, yeah, agreed. And it's do you want to just scroll down to the bit where it talks about that? Because I think actually the wording of the uh yeah, here we go.
When it comes to gameplay, the Liberation Cycle introduces a new mechanic, which will be found on both Corp and Runner cards. A new concept for card design which enables power levels to scale as the game goes on and creates wild haymaker plays at crucial points of the match. This mechanic has proven to be such a natural fit to the tense ebb and flow of Netrunner that we believe it will become an evergreen part of the game.
Yeah. I mean firstly I'm so much in favor of this confident and
Yes.
excitable way of presenting what they're doing. It's
Yeah.
great. It's really good to see. I hope that this assessment's correct. I have a lot of confidence in them. I think the this is a comment you could make about the sabotage mechanic. I think less so the other mechanics in Borealis.
Yeah.
Um,
I
um, go
I think that NSG took some pretty big swings with Borealis,
mm-hmm.
and it took enough big swings that some of those big swings have been a big success, and some of them were not such a big
Yeah,
success.
yeah, yeah.
And like when they swing and miss, they do come back and fix their mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, like any organization, they're going to learn and grow as they go.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just in general, I think the huge step up in quality between Ashes and Borealis makes me just incredibly excited for what's coming next.
Yeah,
Um, obviously, that's most immediately tangible in the visual design, but I
yeah.
think the quality of the game design of the cards is also just leaps and bounds ahead
I think
of where they were when Ashes came out.
I think that something NST do really well is creative and inventive design. It's so easy with a game like
Mm,
this to just print print cards, but with bigger or different numbers on that are
mm,
basically the same as stuff you've had before. And
yeah,
sometimes that's exactly what a meta needs. But NSG have done a fabulous job of thinking outside of the box and coming up with stuff that like
yeah,
none of us saw coming. And so I'm super excited. And I think we
mm,
the one part of this that slightly concerned me
mm.
is Q3
Ah,
is
yeah,
what they're saying now. Now, my understanding was that previously they were talking about literally the 31st of June. So
yes,
Q3 could just mean the 1st of July and a 1 day delay, and I will not mind at all. But like people are people are planning to go to Worlds. People are thinking about their Worlds decks already. I'm thinking about my Worlds decks already, and like we know a lot of the cards that will rotate, but we literally do not know card one from this new cycle and how that's going to. Without doubt, there will be cards in this cycle that will affect the meta,
yeah, yeah,
and I would be shocked if whatever wins Worlds isn't using a card from this set. Shocked.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it would be out of keeping with the way that they've tried to
Yeah,
design the game to date, and it would be a shame for a up to date meta to be relying uh, on cards that are older.
yeah,
It should be progressively changing things. I just wanted to dial back on the mechanics thing actually, because I think that's
sure.
quite an interesting aspect. I wonder whether we will see new mechanics at every new cycle. That's something that we do see in Arkham, and I wonder whether they've borrowed that design feature. It certainly adds a bit of spice to every time a new set comes out in Arkham.
Yeah,
Um, I think they've split the model now between player cards and encounter cards, but I think it's still true that there's a new mechanic and has been a new mechanic in every set on either side.
because I come to Arkham late, like I've not noticed that kind of progression. Like, but I guess next time we play Arkham, maybe you can tell me which new mechanic was added for
Mm, mm.
the campaign that we play.
Yeah, I'll have to try and remember what was well the new actually the new ones in the Innsmouth conspiracy that we were just playing is
Mm-hmm.
the bless and curse
Oh,
tokens.
those are really
You'll
cool.
Yeah, you'll remember the curse tokens. There was a scenario that just kept dumping them into the bag.
Yeah,
Um, they are primarily a player card mechanic. So in that set, a whole load of player cards that manipulates and fire off bless and curse tokens being in the bag were released. Um,
interesting.
yeah, which is actually I think regarded as one of the better mechanics they've done. The I think people feel now it's about time for them to come back to it, which is a bit tricky because they can't release any player cards that key off it unless they package them with punch boards and a whole set of new tokens because all the products need to be independently
Yeah,
playable with the core set. So if they release any more, they need to release some more tokens. But I think yeah, there were enough cards to keep people happy with those mechanics for a couple of years. Yeah, I think people kind of feel now that they want a bit of a new influx to give it life again.
interesting.
Yeah. One more thing I want to say about Liberation. I don't know if you've got other things you want to say. I'm absolutely hyped that Asmund is getting some new weapon cards.
Yes, absolutely.
Maybe it's his time to shine. Let's hope so.
I love Asmund as a card. I built an Asmund deck in startup and came second in a CO with it, in a startup CO. Um, and like I looked back at it today, yesterday even, and it's such jank, but it's like it's the kind of jank that I love, where it can't. Its only ways of getting into a server are three mayflies, three botulus, and break it with your face with Bankar.
Yeah,
And so
it's
like
it's the hero's approach.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it makes Asmund really important because you use Asmund to tutor those botuli. And
Mm-hmm.
in very rare occasions, like go and grab an imp, or I think it's a silly deck. It runs like one time bomb and like two of Chastushka, and Chastushka is like one of the most powerful cards. And
Yeah.
it's like, no, I only want two. I don't need a third one of those.
The only Netrunner deck building I've done for a very long time is an Esther deck with Asmund and Time Bomb and Poison Vial and Botulus in it. Uh, Absolutely rubbish. It's pretty trash, no good at all. But I would like to tinker with it, and that's partly because I think Aspen's cute. He's a good
He
little guy. He
is.
needs
He
more love in his.
is.
Yeah.
Right. Shall we play some Netrunner?
Let's. We haven't really decided what we're doing, which is
We
us flying by
haven't.
the seat of our pants. We've had some discussions about it, but
I have a proposal actually.
yeah, I was hoping you did. I think that's probably why I've not had a discussion about it. Is that I thought you might, and you thought you might.
So I'm big on net decking.
Mm-hmm.
I I think that particularly when I'm new to a meta, and I'm relatively new to standard, I was like a
Mm-hmm.
big startup player, and I've just recently gotten into standard. I think I'm finally getting to grips with it. And the way that I get into a meta is that I go on NetRunDB, I pick an ID that I like the look of, and I invite you to like pick an ID. Runner,
Me?
yeah, you Dev.
I don't even know enough IDs in standards to think about doing it. Um, let's pick a runner ID
Yeah.
and let's pick a an arc from a cycle that I'm not familiar with.
How about Freedom? Would you like to
Yeah,
play?
sounds good. Yeah, that's a name that's familiar to me, but I don't know anything about them.
This is. I've not played a lot of Freedom, so I'm just going to talk you through my process. It's very simple, and people who are experienced with Netrunner are going to be like, "That's an extremely obvious thing you said, Jessica." But part of the idea here is that we teach newer players how to netrun. So I've looked up Freedom. I just go to deck list with this card and literally search. Just don't put anything else in.
Mm-hmm.
Search, see what's popular, see what's recent.
Mm-hmm.
Because this, my my feeling with Netrunner or any similar game is that if you go in without understanding the meta or even without like understanding the fundamentals and try and build a deck, it's kind of like saying, well, I don't just want to drive a car. I would like to build my first car as I'm learning to drive,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just going to get yourself in out of your depth really quickly. You won't know when things are going wrong. You will not know, is this because I'm playing badly or because the deck's bad? And at least if you pick a deck that someone else in the world thinks is good, you know that there's a right way to play it, and you can start fixing your play rather than constantly tinkering with the deck, which is what I used to do.
Yeah. Let's do that. I am not there with either of these games. I have to say, I've done a bit of net decking in Netrunner. You've completely converted me to it as a principle. But my earliest experience in card games was very like it wasn't pre-internet, but it was before any of these resources
Yeah,
existed on the internet. Um, and yeah, there's just a slightly old-fashioned thing I've got about it. But I think again, particularly in a competitive game, I think it's more important. But I have started looking at stuff in other people's decks in Arkham.
yeah.
I haven't really played a deck that anyone else built, but I am comparing what I'm doing to other people.
Yeah. I suggest we have a look at this one that came fifth at Reading CO. Hopefully, it wasn't like our CO
Was
were
was there
only.
one at the top that was higher at the Reading CO?
I don't
No,
think so.
no, that's fine. Fifth at Reading CO is good.
Like I say,
Um,
hopefully they weren't like our CO, which only had 6 people. Oh, that's my news actually, isn't it? I forgot to mention my recent
Tell
Netrunner
us.
news.
Yep.
So last Saturday
Hmm.
there was a circuit opener in Nottingham, where I live. Not a very big one, sadly, but we do have some people in from Sheffield. We were 2 people down from the point where the winner would have won tickets to nationals,
Hmm.
which is a real shame because I was the winner. I was the person who came first. Having
Congratulations.
Thank you. Having almost decided not to go that morning, I was like, shall I go? Shall I not go? Oh, it'll be practice. Like, I don't think these decks are particularly tuned for the meta. But and like I don't even know one of them all that well. But like, it'll be fine. I'll just go and have fun. I enjoy Netrunner. Um, lost my very Lost my first game, drew my second game, and then swept the rest of the day and won it.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Is
it
is that was that happenstance, or is that a learning curve built into your day?
So something that was interesting, and I think this is worth saying about competitive Netrunner, is that the only games I lost all day were the ones where I ran first. My corp game,
Mm-hmm.
the reason it was a draw is because it timed out, and I'm
Hmm.
convinced I would have won on that board state if we'd been playing for another 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, yeah.
Not to take anything away from my opponent, he was a fantastic player. And if we switched those round, if I played my corp game first and then we'd been timing out on the runner side, I
Mm.
think I would have won on points on the runner side because it's very easy. Essa was my runner. It's very
Yep.
easy to, when it is the last turn that you are going to have that game, just run archives and get all the stuff out of archives and put yourself ahead at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only game which timed out that day. The rest of the games I was like, hey, do you mind if I corp first? And I did corp first. And then whenever we were about to time out, Essa did her archives run and always found 7 points.
Mm-hmm. What was the corp you were playing?
The corp I was playing was PE.
Hmm.
So like I was a winner, but at what cost? The cost of friendship.
Yeah. Nobody needs those.
And it's a grim PE that, to be fair, a lot of people don't like playing against. It's the one with Prana Condenser and Warroid Tracker and Keeling is just like, if you do not come and deal with this stuff in this remote, you will die. And if you
Hmm.
do come and deal with the stuff in this remote, it's going to cost you an absolute fortune and or like a bunch of cards out of your
Hmm.
hand.
Hmm.
And I like playing it because it has lots of like tight little angles to win through, and it requires like on the hoof calculations and on the hoof like coming up with new strategies in the moment that are things
Mm.
you've never tried before in order to win.
That sounds cool. Um, I'm one of the reasons that I'm pleased that we're looking at this deck is that Reading, if I did any in-person play, would be my local meta.
Oh, would it? Of course it would.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a group that meets in Oxford, which is very close to where I live. But they travel to this CO. I've seen them talking about it in my lurking activities on their Discord.
So this looks like a very interesting deck.
Mm.
This is a Tag Me Freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Tag Me being a popular archetype, usually played out of Zaya.
Mm.
For reasons. There are some good reasons to play it out of Zaya. I will say I've never played a Tag Me deck full stop, so this might be incredible clowning that's about to happen. But I have watched people play.
Can we talk about the deck first,
Yeah,
or you're just going to go blind
sorry,
into
you're
the
absolutely
game?
right. We should talk about the deck first. I get a little bit overexcited. Uh, so
For my
this
benefit, if no one else's.
so this kind of deck, what it wants to do is it runs some number in an analog deck. It will be 3 copies, and I guess it would be 3 in a Zaya deck usually as well, of counter surveillance. This is the crucial card, and it says run any server. If successful in server breaching the attack server, pay X if able, where X is equal to the number of tags you have. If you do, choose a number less than or equal to X. Access that many cards in and or in the root of the attack server. If you can't pay, you won't access anything. So,
And the joy of that with Zaya, of course, is that you then get all that money back.
Yeah.
If it's HQ or R&D.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Freedom's going to have a few ways of getting those tags. Some of them are exactly the same as you'd see in a Zaya deck. You would see Hot Pursuit in any tag me Zaya deck. Make a run.
Can we be super basic and talk about Freedom's
Sure.
ID ability first of all?
Yes, we can. So Freedom Commando, Crypto Anarchist, access any X virus counters, trash the non-agenda card you're accessing. X is equal to that card's res or play cost. Use this ability only once per turn. Now, I don't know why you would pick Freedom for a tag me deck over Zaya. Maybe it says I think this is why this person's saying that they're being Freedom is because they don't like whiffing on accesses. You kind of never whiff on an access as Freedom, because as long as you've got virus counters, you have a way to do something with the card that you've accessed. As you can see, there are a bunch of ways to get virus counters on here in this deck. It's just 11 different ways to get virus counters by the looks of things.
Talk me through them.
We'll start with the obvious ones, cards you know first. Leech.
Yeah.
You get a virus counter every time you run a central server. Fermenter. You get virus counters just by letting it sit there. These may not be... unless we're being quite targeted about our trashes, we will probably want to keep these on Fermenter. Botulus is just good.
That's awesome. Yeah.
God of War is the interesting one. This is the card you wouldn't see in Zaya and is doing a lot for us all at the same time. When your turn begins, you may take 1 tag to place 2 virus counters on this program, and then you can use those hosted virus counters to break subroutines.
It's cool as fuck.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And then you put a single paperclip in here, presumably because sometimes you really need to get into a place quicker than you found your God of Wars.
Yep.
What else have we got in here? Obelus is a very important console to this kind of deck, because it gives us a larger hand size for each tag we have, so that we don't die to boom or end of the line or whatever.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
I think I will say is, if you are playing against this kind of deck, and you are the kind of deck that runs boom or end of the line, there are sometimes you can make a calculated guess that though you can't kill the runner right now, you might be able to get rid of all their counter surveillances and just switch their deck off, because there's, generally speaking, no way to recur them. So, if they've only got 10 cards left in their hand plus the deck, and 7 of those are in hand, it might just be worth booming them anyway, because if you get both counter surveillances, you have just, if not quite won the game, at least gotten rid of their deck gimmick. Their events just look like a lot of value.
I think I recognise all of those.
Yep. Running hot, I think, is a bit questionable in this deck, but it has its moments, and I think if you don't want to play it, it's probably not a bad draw ever. It might just be a hit point in some matches.
And with Obelus, of course, you're not too worried about racking up a little bit of core damage.
That's true. What I would worry about with it is if I had the counter surveillance in hand. I absolutely do not want to lose the counter surveillance. So But I can't play the counter surveillance because I've tagged and the corp will just trash it. So I guess I would save this for the turn when I am using counter surveillance, install it, then use running hot, and then use the extra clicks. But I'm probably just making one big run on that turn anyway. So I'm not convinced by this card in this deck. Boomerangs, always good.
Yeah,
Love a
lovely.
boomerang. Gachapon to get the things that we need to gatch more quickly. Gachapon, I can't remember how much Ashes you played. It was a very...
I like a bit. I'm vaguely familiar with the card. I don't think I ever played it.
So it says, set aside the top 6 cards of your stack. You may install one program or virtual resource from amongst the set aside cards, paying 2 credits less. Shuffle 3 of the remaining cards into your stack, then review the rest of the game. Now, something I don't know the answer to is... No, I cannot use this to install counter surveillance. So I'm
How
not...
about rogue trading? Is that a virtual resource?
No, it's a job resource. So...
That's just Obelisk tech, then I guess. Or no, it's programs, isn't it? Not hardware.
It's programmed, so it gets God of War more quickly. Botulus, Fermenter, and Leech. To be fair, it's got 11, 12 targets.
45 bars, yeah.
And it's... The thing about Gachapon is that when it whiffs, you still remove cards from your deck. And sometimes that's exactly what you want to do. Sometimes just like getting rid of cards that you know you're not going to want this matchup is a good thing. If we've already got an Obelisk on the board and we Gachapon, and there's another Obelisk comes out, we don't need that Obelisk. We can just get it out of our deck.
That is absolutely true. It's a play that would slightly terrify me, but you're completely right.
It was a card that I hated the first few times I played it. So I was like, but I'm losing all these cards that I love from my deck. And as I learned more Netrunner, and as I learned the specific deck I was playing better, I loved the fact that I could trim my deck on the fly using this card.
Yeah, I think that's probably an Arkham ability that or like thought process that I carried over and isn't entirely correct. In Arkham, it's extremely rare for a card to be a dead draw.
Yeah.
You've almost always got some pips that you can use with the card, so your additional copies of assets are not useless. But that's not the case in Netrunner. There are literally dead cards that you're not that interested in.
Yeah, and it will vary from matchup to matchup. Like when we talk about this next card, Hippo is an incredible card in some matchups. If your opponent is rezzing big ice and you can get that ice off the board just by breaking it once for 2 credits and a click, it's one of the strongest cards in the format right now. However, there are matchups where your opponent is just playing Ice Walls and Metal Chest Foes and stuff like that you do not care to even spend a click and 2 credits to get through. You'll just pay through them over and over again, or maybe even pay through them with bad publicity or something. And in those matchups, you would be frustrated to see Hippo, and you will deliberately lose it out of your deck with Gachapon. Obelisk we've already discussed. Counter Surveillance, core of the deck. Rogue Trading, another card that you definitely see in the Zaya version of this deck, and you also currently see in there's a 4/1/9 deck at the moment that likes to take exactly 1 tag a turn, and that uses this. It's a big money card. 18 credits on it, 0 to install, and you can double click for 6 credits. One of the best conversion rates for credits in the game. A click for 3 credits is good in this game. If it's not also costing you a card, it's very good.
Yeah.
As a comparison, Liberated Account, well, assuming you're just installing it raw, is 5 clicks for a net of 10 credits. So this will be 7 clicks for a net of 18 credits, which is just better. It's just better.
I can see in the write-up, it says running hot and rogue trading is a combo. So I guess the idea is you play running hot and just hit road trading repeatedly until you're extraordinarily rich and floating
Yeah,
millions of tags.
yeah, that makes sense. And provided that you can do so on a turn where there's nothing in hand that you mind losing, and you're not worried about getting boomed at the end of
Mm-hmm.
it, I can see
Yeah,
that being a combo that works.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, Dave, shall we try? Shall I do my
Yes,
up?
let's. Thank you for indulging me. That I feel like I understand this deck now, or to some extent.
I I hope you can appreciate how good I am at bullshitting stuff that I've literally never done in my life. Um, as I've, like I say, never played a deck like this even once. I just
Um,
know how it's meant to work.
it was excellent bullshitting, and I'm not even remotely surprised. But I love you for it.
I
I'm
will.
just going to get another layer because it's just starting to get a bit cooler here. So
Sure.
I'm going to pop off and do that. I'll be
Take a
back in
quick
a moment.
moment and we'll get ready.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this deck's got a trick name because it's called Knobelus, but it doesn't run Knob Cream, which I thought it would. I would also mention while Dave's gone that, like, as well as having never run a Tag Me deck, I don't think. I'm just saying, Dave, I don't think I've actually played Freedom before either. Like, this is the ID that I'm least practiced with. So it'll be a
Okay.
learning
Wow.
experience for both of
Mm.
us. Um, what should we call this? Streaming emergency hedge.
Mm-hmm.
I think as people don't recognise, I'm assuming people don't recognise our wonderful brand name yet.
Mm-hmm.
I will mention to whoever comes in that that's what we're doing before we start. It seems fair
Yep. Yep.
on a
It's
stranger.
reasonable. Uh,
Hey there, we're streaming tonight. Is that okay? Sweet. Okay, let's go.
so on Pravdivust,
We're on Provdivust.
I'm not sure whether I said this on stream or not, but I have said some nasty things about Pravdivust in the past. Um, which I think is completely unjustified. I played against it once, and it was a bad experience because I was not familiar with it as an ID.
Um,
Um,
I can't remember having played against Provdivust in Standard. I'm not sure about this hand, and my rubric is if it's a new deck and you're not sure about the hand, mulligan. You will see more hands
mhm.
in the long run that way. I
Yep.
think this might be substantially worse, but we do have we've got two of our core pieces. We've got
Mm-hmm.
Obelisk and we've got counter surveillance. What we don't have is any money at all. But they also mulligan, so hopefully. Um, I've also got to remember things like I'm not playing Essa today, so running hot is not also a button to draw a card. It
Mm-hmm.
now
So we want to put down some of our key cards. Hippo doesn't feel like it's necessary to start off with.
it doesn't. Our biggest problem right now is that we do not have money.
Yeah, draw, draw, draw.
Um,
Don't draw 3 times. Draw once and see what happens.
got a
Okay.
pinhole. A question is, what do we think this is? I suspect the answer is that it's an NGO front. I think it's an NGO front or a trap.
Yeah,
The
I think if we're going to run anything, I'd suggest running R&D.
yeah,
But I don't fancy server one.
I don't fancy just doing a random access run versus Prav. So I'm going to draw
That's
again.
very true. This is my non-prav brain talking.
I'm going to
Oh,
Install
We've
counter.
lost our opponent.
That's a real shame. I was playing quite slowly, but we'll give them a minute to see if they come back.
Yeah, yeah, that's
I feel like they wouldn't have just walked away. They've probably disconnected. Um,
that's most likely, isn't it?
the question
They're,
here,
prob- they're probably sitting there going, "Have I disconnected, or is my opponent just extremely slow?"
yeah, it could be that they thought we were being slow, so they've
Yeah,
like
yeah,
disconnected in order to reconnect.
yeah,
So this has answered an interesting question for me. I've always been like, when I play Netrunner on JNet, this kind of thing happens to me quite a lot, just generally. Like
mm,
people
mm.
disconnect, games crash, all of that kind of stuff. I have never seen it happen to the big streamers who. Um,
You didn't? Did you not see Andre's stream that the day that the crypto miner got onto JNet?
but I mean, that's different. That's happening to everyone. This feels like
Ah, yeah, right, right, right.
I think we just take a credit here and probably lose a counter surveillance, although that feels really bad. Um, actually, you know, I'm going to lose a running hot.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Okay, so we've got ice and R&D, and they're drawing last click. Not draw, sorry, they're drawing middle click, um, which is probably not correct. And they're also taking a credit. Now, the fact they've taken a credit suggests to me this isn't an NGO front. Uh, we might as well catch up on here, because if we find a fermenter,
Yeah,
which we have done, then we can ferment. We could also botulus, but I think we just need the money.
yeah, agreed.
Let's keep boomerang. Let's keep botulus. We've got an obelisk in hand. And I think we
Yeah,
keep his steel skin scarring.
yeah,
Uh, and then we draw. That is not what we were looking for. I think we draw again. This is not going great. I think we get one of these counter fences down. Take a credit and lose something. We've got currently no way to get tags. Do you know what? I'm being a little bit silly because one of the things I'm trying to avoid is getting hard hitting news. Actually, let's not install. It should really have been the obelisk that I'm installing.
right.
I got distracted by the fact that that's only one credit to install. Right now, I'm very much regretting our mulligan. I feel like the other hand was a lot more playable, but we could
Because it
easily
had,
have money.
yeah,
Money's nice. We're gonna
it's the solution to all the world's problems, I hear.
we're gonna lose a card here, and I think it is gonna be a counter surveillance if we've got two of them in hand already. If we found a rogue trading at this point, we would be absolutely laughing.
Yes.
They found some money, which
Mm,
is less than ideal. The thing is, there's a very funny thing we could do here potentially. Okay. Do we want to fire this steel skin scarring just to draw three? The question is draw three and do what?
what in our hand do we absolutely need to keep?
The counter surveillance is. It would be nice to. Well, we need at least one of them.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
probably want a hippo, so I think I'm just gonna hippo and take two credits, and hope they don't purge. Because next turn at least I can like take the money off Fermenter.
Yeah.
And also hope that they don't crypto crash me, which is a real possibility. Oh, hello. Priority construction. So that's very interesting in this deck. I'm going to go ahead and assume that's either a Pharos or a Mausolus that they've used that card on. Hello, get in. Do we correct the Fermenter is the question. I think if we go up to 9 and then they purge to slow down our Fermenter, we are fine with that. Next turn we steal Skin Scarring.
Yeah. Absolutely nothing's happened on server 1, has it? Which suggests it is a trap.
They've now advanced it once, which makes me think it's an NGO front that they would use to... Okay. I think that's going to be a crypto crash. I think I want God of War down. And I think I want... If I think that's going to be a crypto crash, do I take the money off Fermenter? And I think the answer is no. Or do we just... not? Because if it's a crypto crash and they only get us to 3 credits, that's better than... That's not what I meant to click.
Oh, yeah.
I was just trying to get rid of the pop-up. Okay, I'm just going to take the money, actually, and live with it if it's a crypto crash. So I'm trying...
I thought you meant dump the Fermenter and run server 2 last click.
We haven't got any way to break any ice on server 2. Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. They've taken out our Obelisk, which is really bad.
Yes. So there's one that's just gone in the heap. That's the one that's just gone in the heap. So there's still 2 in the deck and 1 in our hand. Is that right? No, one in the deck and 1 in our hand.
Yeah, we lost one earlier.
Oh, did we?
No, there's... Let's check. Is there another one in the deck? There is. So we now need to go and find the one of... Totally correct
move. Removed from the game.
Yeah, because I was like, well, nobody plays Retribution in this format, I figured, so... Okay, what can they res with 4 credits? Except they've not got 4 credits, they've got like 12 credits. I think we take the risk anyway.
We've got the God of War. We've got some money.
We'd hate to see a Eula here.
Yeah. Serevna would be a bit of a shitter as well, wouldn't it? We would get through.
We'd get the tag. We might also... We'd get the tag and we would get to break one of the subroutines and we would break the net damage subroutine. It wouldn't be the end of the world.
Yeah. If they're thinking this much, presumably they did have enough credits to res whatever that ice is. Yeah.
That's the Obelisk. We'll take 2 tags, because we love tags. We will trash it, however, because we want to see it when we want to see it. Standard procedure. I've not seen this card literally ever before in my life. What's it say? Play if the runner made a successful run during his or last turn. Name a card, then reveal the grip. Gain 2 credits for each card in the grip that has the name type. We can trash this because
For
we're
no virus
freedom
counters. Yeah,
for
great.
0 virus counters. Uh, and then
I
we
think freedom might be quite a good idea, Jessica.
it's a lot of fun for sure.
Mm.
Um, I think is if this deck plays Retribution, it's something of a fuck up because I should be careful about swearing. It's a difficult position it puts us in because most decks don't play Retribution. Right, let's put our virus counters on there. And then I think we Hot Pursuit.
Yeah,
HQ.
sounds good. They now have 3 credits instead of 4, so maybe they don't have enough now to as the piece of ice. Do we have? We don't really have a corporate policy on swearing. I have been doing it on our streams, so
Yeah, I
either I should stop or you should not feel bad about doing it as well.
okay. Look, we now have 8 tags. I have to assume that I have to assume a few things. I have to assume this deck is running tag punishment. Uh, and I also have to assume that one of these is an NGO front. I think that's really reasonable to assume. But all of that,
which Frank is you trash it and then you get some money for the number of advancement counters, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think we counter surveillance now. She
Yeah.
said, having never ever done this in her life before, and get a C8.
Yeah. I think so.
I know that there will be people watching who are just like, "This is wild. Why would you do it now?" I think that's a bad res. I think
It may be, yeah. It may be.
So 2 credits.
It costs us 2 credits, which is not very remarkable, and then we get to see an extra card.
So they've res their NGO front, which I think means that we are at a real risk of seeing.
Snaring McSnareface.
Yeah, I think we let them have that. They are playing a lot of cards that I am not familiar with. The run against 2, trash up to 2 cards from HQ, then shuffle up to 2 cards marked comes into HQ. They can have that, I think.
Yeah.
I think they can have that as well.
That's the second card we've seen where they do something about knowing cards in our hand and trashing, getting a benefit if they do know them.
Yeah, I think we want to lose focus.
That's the third card we've seen of that type.
That's a Beal.
Yeah.
That's no action. Okay.
So if they've got a boom, we're dead, right?
Well, they can't have a boom because we saw the top of the deck.
And indeed, they had no cards in hand.
We saw the top 9 cards of the deck.
Yeah.
They need to draw through 7 cards. Actually, they don't because they can use this to shuffle. They have now
so that's good.
got Retribution.
Yeah.
I can't remember what they've got in hand, but it's not anything we particularly care about.
Yeah, that's about as much as I remember as well.
I'm curious what these things are.
Let's find out.
Yeah, I think we raindrops this server and force them to red some ice.
Mm. Could they be running Clearinghouse? I mean, that's
They
something to
could.
watch
They could.
for it to
This
server one.
is a very strange deck. That's good res for them. But it does take them down to 0 credits. What do we want to do here?
How many counters would they need on a Clearinghouse to kill us?
At the moment, a lot, because we have a hand size of 14. I think we just draw here.
Hmm?
Do we hot pursuit to see a card that we know? No, we don't.
We could boomerang the toll booth and go back to server 2.
We could, but we don't have enough
Not
clicks.
our last click.
So,
Yeah.
and then we could trash that toll booth. I
That
think
would be cool.
next
Yeah.
turn we probably are going to do that.
Yes. Hit put. I think I might quite like standard Jessica.
It can be very fun. This is a weird matchup.
Yeah.
I've never seen a deck like what Raider's doing right now. That's interesting. What an interesting, an interesting play. I guess that they put a Prav token, the third token, on there with Prav, just to confuse us a little bit and just to make us think that they didn't have money.
Is that's an instant ability, isn't it? So they could bait out a run and then just trash it, and we'd lose our click and they'd get money.
Yeah, and I was thinking about running that.
Well, I was spreading fear, uncertainty, and doubt with all my talk about clearinghouses.
I'm gonna hot pursuit HQ.
Yeah, I think you should.
We could lose money doing that. I'm gonna raindrops HQ.
Okay.
I think they probably don't res here. We do want to trash this.
Yes. That would have been a cool thing.
It would. It would.
Those were trash programs, wasn't it? So they could have trashed our AI.
I don't think they drew Retribution last turn because they would have used it.
Do we want to do the boomerang play on server 2?
My only issue with the boomerang play is that we still lose 3 on toll booth. I think they can res what's on the inside, and if that is, let's say a hang on, let me just check something.
Well, if it's a 4-2, they can score it before we access it, right? If I understand.
No. You can't score an agenda on your opponent's turn. I think we
really?
just draw here. What we need is money, and then we can counter surveillance again. That's money, but we can't use it right now. Let's shill gamble.
They're sad that we trashed Keegan.
So, what do we want? I think next turn we are going to countersurveillance again, pretty much regardless of what they do. We're going to Gachapon at the start of the turn.
Mm-hmm.
We might Hot Pursuit first, but we are going to drop countersurveillance, assuming they don't kill us or something this turn, which is unlikely. Then we are going to countersurveillance and see like half the deck. Okay. What we'd like to see is a Botulus. We have seen a Botulus. And we can get that on the Messenger chest though. Let's keep Fermenter. Paperclip doesn't really seem necessary, but we have only got one of them in the deck. So let's grab it anyway. And let's grab a Raindrops.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we Hot Pursuit. Let's start our turn. So what we've done there is we've used Gachapon before the start of our turn so that we get 2 tokens on Botulus anyway.
Yeah. So 1 on install and 1 at the start of turn.
Yeah.
Great timing point. Love it. Yep. I can't seem to find another retribution, so I guess the game will end with the next city surveillance. Do they mean counter surveillance?
Yeah. We might have. Oh, hello. Okay. Ooh. We might have considered not running HQ this turn, so that we instead drew like 10 cards when we do counter surveillance. But I think that's a bit greedy.
Why would we draw 10 cards?
Because Knobelus allows us to.
Yeah.
Now let's make sure we've not done like any wrong calculations. We break both of those. Let's not trash that. I think it's fine. No, it's just going to cost us 3 to go through We're going to win right now anyway.
Well, that's almost certain, isn't it? Yeah.
So we're going to use a leech counter and a virus counter from God of War. Get through here, and then we're going to spend 11 credits.
That's key.
I think we do freedom trash that. That can win them the game. There's another one. We'll pay 1 to trash that. We won't do anything with that. We won't do anything with that. We'll steal that.
Yeah, there we go. Hey, there's the retribution.
Good game.
Well, that was very successful.
Yeah, that felt strong.
It's almost like we went on Netrunner DB and picked a really good deck.
Sure, but it didn't like. I didn't know what I was doing with that deck.
Yeah, I have to say, I didn't want you to be talking more than you were because I think it was unfair on our opponent, but I struggled to follow it for some of the time.
That's good input. Yeah, I definitely got lucky there. He's saying, they are saying that. Oh, they've gone. they're saying the third obelisk made a huge difference, and it definitely did. Although I'm not sure how they were gonna uh, how they would have killed us. It did give us a few draws. The obelisk. A thing I forgot to mention about obelisk is that it allows you the first time you make a successful run on HQ and R&D, you can draw X cards where X is the number that you accessed. So like,
So that in combination with
counts, count,
counter surveillance.
yeah, would have basically allowed us to draw our deck.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a crazy good combo. Once you've got the tags up.
Yeah. So this is how I learned standard. Freedom is a really interesting ID. Hang on, I'm just failing to use the internet. There was the other Keegan Lane. There was their toll booth. There was actually only one agenda in those 11 cards that we saw. We would have been very sad if we'd not seen anything. That was a make or break run. And I suspect, like, the skill ceiling of these kinds of decks is knowing how to maximize your chances with that big run. And
Yes.
the way to beat them is to just win first. Win before they can afford to do the big run on R&D.
Yeah. 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 The question I've always had in my head about tag me decks is, what do you do to counter the aggressive strategy of just trashing all of your stuff, your key bits that mitigate the risks of tags like Obelisk.
Yeah.
But the answer obviously is go crazy hard on them and win the game before they get a chance to take it all out.
I mean, the other answer is that is the first time I have seen Retribution played in Standard, possibly, certainly since Boat was around. It's good versus this deck. I'm confident that the reason our opponent had Retribution in their deck was to counter Obelisk. There are other cases where you want it, but most of the time, the reason people don't play a lot of Retribution is because Retribution is mainly good against programs, and the best decks at the moment are Anarch decks, and Anarchs run the bin breakers, and trashing something that you can install again at instant speed is like, I guess it's like a bad economic warfare sometimes if you force them to reinstall Paperclip, but that's not amazing for a card. For a card that can only be used when you've tagged your opponent, it's not amazing at all.
Yeah.
Now, talking about the Liberation Cycle, at the same time that the Liberation Cycle happens, Flashpoint will rotate, and Flashpoint contains all of those bin breakers, which are things like Paperclip that we were just talking about, which I decided to not remove from game.
Yeah.
And I will be fascinated to see whether NSG prints a near print of these, breakers that install from the bin, kind of regardless of what the numbers are. Everyone sort of agrees the numbers on Paperclip are a bit too good. But the numbers on the other two aren't so bad they're unplayable. They're annoying against lots of decks, but like Anarchs usually don't mind taking some damage. It only gets really annoying when you're like paying 9 to get through DNA tracker or whatever.
Yes.
Or
I'm low key excited to see what they whether there are replacements for the bin breakers, because from what little knowledge I have, it seems pretty key to the way that Anarchs work that they can take damage, and trashing their icebreakers is not a game-ending issue for them.
Whether there are bin breakers or not in Liberation is probably going to decide whether or not I play Esser if / when I go to Worlds. Hopefully it's when. We are in my little meta in discussions at the moment for how to get there. but losing 6 trashable cards out of your deck is kind of huge in
Mm,
an archetype that wants to take damage.
yeah. I wonder whether there'll be like another combo piece that you have that allows you to install programs out of your heap or something like that.
Yeah.
Something you can pop on the board, not a what's it, not a resource.
Things I would personally really like to see Rig Shooter come back as an archetype, and it just
Mm,
doesn't really exist at the moment.
yeah, yeah,
So I'm wondering, like off the top of my head, an interesting mechanic might be when this gets trashed from your hand, you may instead install it,
yep,
rather
yep,
than it can always be installed from the heap the moment you need it. Like that would keep.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the fact that they're just available whenever, I think,
Yeah,
is like one of the really powerful things about them. Clearly, yeah. So like maybe some tax on other than the cost on the install, or limiting when they can go into play.
now, would you like to play this deck again, or would you like to see the decks that I played on Saturday, which again are not my decks? They are sometimes like,
I I don't mind actually. I would be happy to play this again.
yeah,
I would also be interested to see your decks. I did think that this was a hard one to follow because you have more cards in your hand than can show up very easily on the little hands box on
that's fair.
Daynet.
Also, I think that there is something of an issue with me playing a deck and an archetype and an ID that I've never interacted with before and
Mm.
trying to stream it all at once.
It's a lot. I think you did very well, but yeah, yeah, it is. That's obviously quite taxing activity.
Yeah. Maybe we'll try my Corp deck from Saturday in that case.
Yeah, sounds good.
Uh,
Everyone loves getting killed by P on stream. Let's round up all of those masochists that are out there just waiting for it.
shall we talk about the deck a bit first, actually, before we start up the
That's a good
stream?
idea. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I do love that somebody's got a game out there that's entitled Jank.
it's very tempting.
Those
I
those are my people. I love it.
I feel like I feel a lot of the decks that I gravitate towards. I sometimes go into a matchup and I feel genuinely bad. So I'm like, oh, you've tried to do something really interesting with your deck, and then my deck has knocked half of the cards out of your deck, and now you can't do your interesting thing anymore. And
Mm,
like, I genuinely feel like a bad person. Uh, so this is not my deck. I should actually let's look up who made this so that they at least get a little shout out. I know it's got Prana Condenser in it. It's the best card. I love Prana Condenser. Prana Condenser says that whenever net damage, one or more net damage would happen, I can instead take 3 credits and
mm,
put a power counter on here. And then later on, use those power counters to do net damage. Which is, to be honest, the less important of the things that it does. Like, sometimes that wins you the game. Very occasionally, you do it for, like, tempo. But the most important thing about this is that it makes me a crazy amount of money despite being in the faction with the worst money in the game.
mm. I hadn't even clocked that, or I hadn't internalized the income that you get from it. I have not played this card. I do remember looking at it in Ashes and thinking, "Ooh, that is spicy. I'd love to make a deck with that." Um,
So I think it's this deck. It is this deck. It's a load of one point agendas and Obokata Protocol, which should be your
mhm.
first red flag anytime you see a deck list that's a load of one point agendas and Obokata Protocol that it's trying to do something pretty evil.
Yeah.
Uh, it's got Kile, which is
Hmm.
one of the most powerful cards in Borealis,
Hmm.
which says that when you res it and also at the start of your turn, it will get power counters and reduce the runner's hand size. There are situations where, alongside Prana Condenser, which we just discussed, that can be lethal. That can be
Yeah.
so. Quite often, it's like the surprise you have one fewer turn than you thought to deal with Prana Condenser. Rashida's just good. I guess as it's our first standard stream, we should describe what it does. Install it and don't get it trashed, and you will get 3 credits and 3 cards, my friend. It's very, very good. Snare. This is a deck that wants to do net damage, and frankly, and if you've got Prana on the board, it's borderline free, and you're still doing 2 of those 3 net damage. Spin Doctors.
Prana just takes up the first one of 8
Yes.
numbers, does it?
Yeah. So if
Aye. Okay, yeah.
so you can get 2 hits off, say, a Nancy, which we'll talk about in a moment, and it will still do 2 net damage. Hedge Fund is some of the only economy in this deck. The economy in this deck can be kind of difficult. If you're facing this deck, kill Prana early and quickly as a matter of priority, because it's the good economy in this deck. Oxide Grid does a single net damage when you run the server it's in. Mavirus is an interesting one in this deck, because you never usually use the ambush clause on Mavirus, but sometimes it's very, very funny when you've got it installed in a server that also has Warroid Tracker, and they can't trash it, to just res it and be like, what are you going to do? This has done an extra net damage to you for nothing. In most matchups, it's just good to have something that gets rid of virus tokens. There's a lot of very powerful virus stuff around, and with or without the 3 credits, it's just worth it. Aiki is perhaps the most toxic card in this list, and it's toxic actually because of the first subroutine, not the second 2, which if I basically says, if I choose to spend some money, I can make you draw cards.
Why would you want to do that?
Because if you've already got 5 cards in hand, and I make you draw 2, you will now discard 2 at the end of your turn. And one of what I consider the backup win conditions of this deck is to just do enough net damage to the runner that they haven't... Yeah, to deck them out, basically. It's not how I want to win, and sometimes runners do not play around that win condition and still get salty about getting decked out, and I feel less sympathy for them. But I do feel sympathy for runners who have just played carefully and hit 3 snares. DNA tracker.
Could I just ask about that side game, because that's a mechanic that has not featured in any game I've played, but I'm aware of it.
Interesting.
This secretly spend credits. Is there? I feel like there's more depth to this than pick a number between 0 and 2.
There is, because
Tell me.
This is a game where 2 credits is quite a lot of credits. And so a joke I've made that's only half a joke is that, right, here's how you win a side game. Say I want to bet exactly the same number of credits as you, and that's what I want to do. I make a big show of rolling a dice and say that I'm going to base my number of credits off my dice roll, and then whatever the dice says, I bet 0, because logically that's what you will do if you think I'm doing it randomly. It can be a game with a lot of depth if you want to make it one.
Run that by me again.
So
you
you
roll a dice, you make a big show of rolling a dice, and then you secretly bet 0.
Yeah, I'd secretly make a choice instead of obeying the dice to bet 0, because your optimal strategy, if you think I'm betting randomly, your optimal strategy is obviously to bet 0, because it's got as much chance of coming up as anything else, but it costs you 0, whereas the other numbers cost you numbers. And so I think that explores a bit of the depth you can have. And there are moments in Netrunner where you're playing side game and you're like, oh, actually, if I bet exactly this number of credits, then anything they do will be wrong. And those are very exciting. Sometimes though, sometimes it's random, and sometimes it's just obvious that everyone wants to bet 0, on this.
Yeah.
Usually, Aiki can get really interesting because there are times when the runner needs to draw those cards, and those are the times when it's like, well, now what do you do?
Yes.
And I will admit I'm not amazing at side game. I get it wrong a lot,
Yeah.
but I think that's natural. I think you probably should get it wrong 2 out of 3 times.
Yes.
DNA Tracker is phenomenal in this deck.
Mm,
If it fires, if it fires when Prana is installed, it is effectively a 15 credit swing in my direction because I get 9 credits off Prana, and the runner loses 6.
yeah.
Now I would have spent 8 of those credits rezzing DNA Tracker, but I've
Yeah.
spent those rezzing DNA Tracker, which is a good thing to do.
Mm,
Mausolus is just a good value card. No one breaks this well, and it's a deck that wants to cost the run lots of money. Anansi, again, you have to
is that
break
ever
it.
getting advanced in this deck?
No. I suspect there's some. I've never done so. I suspect there's an edge case where you do it, but I've
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
played
But
this deck.
there's not a mechanism in the deck to do it that
No.
I've not noticed yet.
Apart from the basic action card, there's no mechanism.
Yeah.
Now, the big card that I've not discussed is what makes the deck work and what makes a number of other quasi-toxic decks like this work, which is War Road Tracker, which says whenever the runner trashes at least one card from this server from its route or protecting it, trace 4. If successful, the runner trashes 2 of their installed cards. Now, can you work out why that's really strong in the current meta and wasn't in the previous meta?
And not immediately, no, actually.
So this is one of the few cards that kind of gets around pinhole threading. Pinhole threading can come in and trash my Keeling or my Prana or my Rashida or whatever, and War Road Tracker doesn't care that you didn't run this server. War Road
Yeah.
Tracker says you're trashing something out of this server, go screw. You need to pay me 4
Yeah,
credits.
yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
if I've made a load of money, I can pay into that trace. It's also I find this hilarious. It's not unique. I can stack 3 of these in the
Yeah.
same server and just ruin a runner's day. And I have done that.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we try this out?
Yes, that's. I'm excited.
I say try it out, but I've already played it 37 times. Not including the matches on Saturday.
Yeah.
And now, like a spider to a fly, we wait.
That's me, the spectator.
That is you. I noticed.
Yeah.
Does that mean our screen sharing has failed in some way?
No, it doesn't. No, no. It's an additional way for me to see what's going on in the game without asking you to explain cards multiple times.
Yeah, but by the way, like, please do feel free to ask me to explain stuff. I realise I'm going very fast.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I love this game is it makes me hyper focus on stuff, but one of the reasons that possibly people don't love to play this game with me is that it makes me hyper focus on stuff. And I can get a little bit intense sometimes.
I will. Yeah. I mean, it's often what I want. I started this partway through our last game, and often what I want to do is double check something we've already discussed, and or just numbers on something, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just what you do with your mouse when you're playing on JNAP and you're not even aware that you're doing it. I was watching on our screen sharing, just waving my mouse around aimlessly, and then I was like, oh, that doesn't really work. Most of the time, I want to check stuff that's in your hand, which obviously I can't do as a spectator. But sometimes there's stuff on the board that I can check, or see what's in the bin. That's quite useful as well.
I have 100% whilst watching other streamers stream try to look in archives or like done other silly things, like try to sometimes, very occasionally, I'll shuffle the deck as a like, what's the word I want? Nervous tick. And
Mm.
it's such a like monkey brain thing to do. Yeah.
I watch on an iPad. I don't have a mouse. Otherwise, I'm sure I would be doing that.
Now, what I suspect has happened is that we've been stream sniped, and people saw that I'm playing this toxic
Yeah.
Jinteki deck, and do not want to come and play with me,
Mm.
which is absolutely fine. Um,
It's absolutely fine. But I tell you a funny thing, a thing I did that I'm slightly embarrassed about.
Go
When I
ahead.
was testing out that S deck, I came across someone who in in one of our games had what's his face down? Drago had a Drago down
Yeah,
in R plus and did the really toxic play. Advance, tag, getting credit, and just did that 4 turns in a row.
yeah.
And I just said, "This is boring." Just left the game. They were sort of apologizing to me, and like it happened 4 times, and I didn't have
No,
I
free
didn't
night.
have my breakers down. So I was like, well, I could keep click, remove tag,
Yeah,
and like keep doing this for a long time, but actually this is the first time I played for ages and I want to enjoy myself, and I'm not enjoying myself at all.
I think there is never an obligation to keep playing a game that you're not enjoying.
Mm.
What I will say as a corollary to that is that sometimes there is a way of enjoying a game that you're not enjoying that you've not seen. Something I found again and again in Netrunner is if I'm coming up against the same deck over and over and hating it, I will go away and find that deck, some version of that deck on an RDB and play it myself.
Mm.
This is wonderful. It's Captain Nice.
Is that a person you know, or you
It
just like their name?
is. This is someone I know from GLC.
Oh, awesome.
I might quickly message them on Discord just to make sure they've noticed.
They've noticed. E.
Cool. This person was, until right now, my friend. Now they will play my. To be fair, Hashiko's quite good into this matchup for a number of reasons. I think this is a keep. I've got Ice, I've got Prana, I've got early Econ. The only question is whether I think I put this on HQ, this Hogside Grid, rather than playing a hedge fund first turn, because if they do just run this remote, then we've got something to res. Okay, let's just get money. And then they need to worry about DNA tracker and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they probably don't run every turn. If they're... Okay, they can also just do that.
Yeah.
I think we take the money here. I think we do make them draw cards. $17 credits is a good number of credits to have. I mean, like, they were right that they could survive whatever they need to survive there. Cool. And they've got a hybrid release.
Mm-hmm.
Let's draw again and get that Aki on R&D.
What's the agenda in our hand?
We have two agendas in our hand. We have Sting and we have False Lead.
Sting is one of those. Is that an Ashes card? It's a card that I have not internalized at all.
It is an Ashes card. I think we don't force them to draw here because they're taking... Cool. We hit a Steel Skin. So maybe we should have forced them to draw. I think they're playing this right. They've got lots of money. And they've got DJ Steve now as well. Mm-hmm. But we've got a Nancy. So that's unfortunate for them.
Please tell me how Sting works.
So Sting does X net damage, where X is equal to the number of copies of Sting in the other player's score area. Oh, fascinating. They are Hashiko Swift deck, which means that they are quite possibly an APOC deck. Let's draw for War Aid Tracker. That's not War Aid Tracker, never mind. They will run whatever we put out there.
Yeah.
So let's put a snare out there. Yeah.
Very good.
Oh, they went for the Hogside Grid. I think that's wrong.
They could have saved themselves a lot of misery if they didn't snipe the Keeling. I was about to say, when I thought that's what they were doing, that they have played this extremely well.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. Oh, interesting.
They clicked. And there were this many credits.
Oh, I think they're playing quite an interesting deck, to be fair.
Why would they want that many credits?
Because they know they're going to have to, like, run and kill Keeling. Yeah, cool. That's really sensible. They're going to go and get their pinhole with Katorga.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Pinhole Keeling.
Pinhole Keeling.
Yeah. Nicely done.
One turn too late, Warroyd Tracker.
Yeah, where were you when we needed you?
Oh, there we go. So one of the reasons this is a good matchup is because this deck doesn't care about losing bin breakers.
Yes.
Do they have it? No.
What kind of Isis and Nancy?
It's a Sentry.
Mm-hmm.
So this always really confuses me. I think we want the snare last, then the Sting, then the Mausolus, then the Warroyd, then the Rashida. That was incorrect, never mind. Because now they might hit the Rashida, which we don't particularly want. We took out their Stargate, that's good. Like, they might have another 2 in the deck, but they don't have one right now. Ah, this hurts a lot, but I don't think we do snare them on 6 credits.
Is there not something else we can do? We won't kill them. So maybe that is the right call.
If we had a hybrid release in hand, I might think about it. It means they need to spend the rest of their turn drawing up. But yeah, this is what I mean about, like, they went and killed the Prana early, even taking net
Yes.
damage, and that was the
Yeah.
correct thing to do. So let's get that there, that there. Enough credits that we could res all of it if we wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Where's the art from in the background?
This is from what's the card called? Push Your Luck, which is a bad card, but I think it's a very funny card where you pay X number of credits. I'm trying to remember the exact wording. Basically, you enter into a 50-50 thing with the corp and either double up or lose it all.
Yep. That is fun.
It is fun. It has some, like, pseudo. What's the word I want? Pseudo side game stuff to it. Because, like,
Mm-hmm.
there are, like, edge cases where you for sure want to. This is interesting. Yeah, I think they've got us.
As in the game is theirs.
I think they've got one of the other reasons Hashiko's really good into this matchup is that when Hashiko is in her, like, magical girl mode. So this is going to cost them exactly 10 credits.
Mm.
I don't know what happened there. They broke. Maybe I clicked fire too soon.
I think so.
Yeah, they have Link when they're in magical girl mode.
Ah, yes.
But, like, that has cost them 14 credits.
Mm.
They've got 22 hit points left at the end of this turn.
And we have precisely no economy in all of those cards. All of this costs those 3 cards.
I think we res a
Is Katorga
Morseless here.
is Katorga Breakout a replacement effect?
It's not a replacement effect. Um, I think it's a really interesting deck they've got. Oh, cool. We took out their finality.
Definitely a good thing.
Now, like, we might easily take out whatever it is they go and get, which I'm guessing might be... No, it's not going to be low rise. It's probably Stargate. It's not. It's Dirty
Just the
Laundry.
economy.
They've got a Stargate. Oh, they lost their other Stargate. It's just very funny to have 3 of them in one server, so we will. They've used or trashed all of their Katorgas.
It's interesting that it's not removed from game, actually, Katorga.
That's a good pull for them.
A good play.
They grabbed a House of Knives. They now just need... Now you start running my remotes. Of course they don't run the snout though. I don't know if I'd have fired it.
You absolutely should, because we can score that sting.
Yeah.
That plus the snare. It hopefully gets us there, right? They've got 2 stings now.
They're just going to hit R&D every turn, as well they should. Yes, that is correct. So if memory serves, this costs like 9. There you go. I think we res.
But is that agenda I don't recognise a 2-pointer?
No, there's no 2-pointers in this deck. The false leads,
yeah.
the other one.
It's a shame they got the sting.
Yeah.
If they'd got the hit the snare instead, I think we could have done them probably. Maybe not having enough credits.
Yeah, credits are the issue. We'll pretend that this is something. Oh, hang on. We don't want to do that. We just want to take credits because we want this. Actually, we want the false lead out of hand because right now they played this very, very well. I don't think I played it particularly well. It's also like, why don't I think I played it particularly well?
No. What? Why did they play it well?
They knew what trash at what time. Uh, like finding the war raid tracker late as we did wasn't great for us, but they've been like making really good plays.
They've done us. They've done us. Yeah. Is that the game?
No, we've got
Your friend of mine's Spin Doctor.
hang on, what if I clicked wrong? Sorry, accidentally opened Spotify. Now they're in trouble because they've only got 7 hit points left. Very soon I can start just like scoring stuff out, but they've also only got to score 1 more agenda. This is the kind of point in the game where it's very annoying that the one face down card of ours they didn't run was a snare. Like, this could be game easily. They're going to get something back. They've gotten jailbreak. This is more aggressive than they need to be, in my opinion.
6-0. Maybe they have an eye on the cards in hand.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons I say they played that very well is I don't know if you saw my win ratio on this deck is generally very, very good. And like it's quite it is quite unusual for me to win 7-0. I think that like lose 7-0 even. I think I will say I think a lot of my wins from this deck. Yeah, I got about a 7% win rate with this deck, which is huge. A lot of those wins just come from people playing carelessly, people conceding early.
Yeah.
I think that they played it extremely well. They knew how to play against this kind of PE deck, and yeah, like if we'd had a war road track in our opening hand, I think it would have been a different game. Although they ran our Prana super early, like they ran.
How many Pranas are there in the deck?
Sorry, there are
Pranas are there?
There are 3, and I think we saw 1.
I feel that was also significant that we just didn't see the other ones.
Yeah, there are currently 3 in the deck. I know that we shuffled 1 back in.
Yeah.
I think if that had not been the winning jailbreak, which like it could easily not have been. There aren't that many agendas left in the deck. They'd have had a tough time.
Yeah.
Admittedly, they could just like sit back and click for credits, but while they're sitting back and clicking for credits, we are scoring agendas.
Yes.
What this deck needs to do, and failed to do this entire game, is make a Keeling or a Prana stick. I just want
Yeah.
to check something. To be fair, they are only playing one pinhole, but they are playing 3 Katorga, so they got a second pinhole effectively out of that. I like the idea of their deck. I'm not sure why they're playing Swift, because counting up their influence. Let me just move some stuff around so I can see what I'm doing. Counting up their influence, I
So
don't
that's
think they.
extra click when you play a run event, isn't it? So
Yes,
they've
it
got
is.
Dirty Laundry, Bravado, Torga, Raindrops, Finality,
Yeah,
Overclock. Actually, no, they've got quite a few in there.
they've got loads of run events. The reason I say I don't know why they're playing Swift is because usually you would play Swift because you're playing something that gives you value for the extra click. Something like Deep Dive or APOC, classically, is another one. And they don't seem to be playing either of those because these Bravados are 9 influence. That's 10. That's 12. They've probably got a. In fact, they've got a Swift on the board. But yeah, Hashiko is good into this matchup because she's got Link and she doesn't mind losing her bin breakers to Warroid when it fires. If we'd found these 3 turns ago, I think they'd have been in trouble because
Yeah.
even as Hashiko, you can't really afford to pay 13 credits plus
Yeah, I
whatever.
wonder whether there was a point where a snare in the remote would have been a good play.
Well, they weren't. Slight frustration was they only started running face down cards when we didn't want them to.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that was an uncanny. Whether it was good luck or not, it was uncanny how well they chose that. Like that, we put a snare on a naked snare on the board. Didn't seem interested in it at all. And then when other stuff started going down, they're like, "Hello, let's see what these are."
Yeah, that's. I feel like that's quite often the way with Netrunner, but it might just be that we don't remember the times that our like plays pay off perfectly.
I mean, no, I don't think so. I think good players have a very good sense of. It's one of the reasons it's a really interesting game. Good players have a very good sense of when you're bluffing or when you've actually got it.
Yeah, and there weren't like if we were threatening to score a 3-pointer. I mean, let's be fair to ourselves. The other thing is we found 1 Rashida the whole game. And there were several points where an extra 3 credits would have made all the difference.
Yes. Yeah.
Like they wouldn't have been able to run this remote when they trashed Keeling out of it if we'd been able to res DNA tracker. We couldn't res DNA tracker because we had found 1 fewer Rashidas.
Any plays you'd make differently?
That's a good question. In retrospect, as they ended on 3 cards, I probably would have fired that snare.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've been thinking since about a turn or two after that it was the right call not to fire it because it was a struggle for credits the whole time. But yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to res Keeling that turn, but I think it would have been. I think just the psychological impact of, oh, she's not going to fire snare even if I hit it, probably made them run more, and we didn't want them running more.
Yeah.
Like one of the things that Captain Nice did correctly there was like you probably should be running a bunch against PE. PE
Yes.
doesn't. PE doesn't want you to make silly, unnecessary runs. But if you can identify which the right run is to make, you should make it and be willing to hit snare.
Mm. Yes, in fact, the game is more manageable if you know where all the snares are.
Yeah.
If you do that by bashing a face into them and like losing some cards, so be it. Like much better for that to happen, and then
I
you
think
need to have more information about what the potential size of surprises you need to be able to handle.
I think snare is an understandably controversial card because, like, if they'd hit the snare that we have in hand now,
Yes,
and not hit the one they hit earlier, like the game that changes the game completely. Suddenly they can't win the game. They can't run this server, so they can't make the winning run.
mm.
They would have then to win off of HQ by running HQ, getting a card back with Fenris, and hoping to hit 1-pointers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The like magical Christmas land of this deck as well is Prana in the remote, and I've scored a House of Knives, and that is a situation that can only happen if the runner doesn't run. If the runner runs, they will steal my House of Knives, so I kind of have to play it naked. Mind you, if the runner does run, I
Run
get...
that by me again. I'm trying to remember what House of Knives does and understand what you're saying about it, which is a lot.
That's fair. There's one in their score area. So,
yep.
Yeah, it gets 3 counters. I can use those at instant speed to do damage, or if I've got Prana installed, just get 3 credits. It suddenly becomes a, like, off-world office on crack, basically. A 3-1 that has made me effectively 9 credits for scoring it. 12 even, with the, like, point of damage it does when you score it. Yeah, but, like, I didn't get to score an agenda all game. Because there was never a time that I wanted to score that sting. Like, a good rule of thumb in Netrunner is that a card that hasn't been run on the turn that you installed it is actually usually pretty safe. Like, usually they don't come back and run it later, at least not till much later, or until the board state changes a lot. So often there isn't a rush to... Unless it's got some benefit for you right now to score it right now, you can usually leave it. And, there's a world in which they started running those remotes in the opposite order, hit snare first, and were like, okay, I can't run anything else this turn. But yeah, we could dissect one random JNet game until... I guess that's the point of what we're doing here, is to dissect random JNet games.
It's part of the learning, I think.
Yeah.
But, maybe that's enough dissection for today. Maybe the patient is already dead and dismembered.
I mean, it looks pretty dismembered. I was like eager to show how good I was with this deck. This deck that won me a CO, and then I've lost 7-0 against...
It turned out that it was you on the slab buff all along, Jessica.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Is that us for tonight?
I think that's us for tonight. It's about 10 to 11.
Yeah.
It feels like a good time to sign off.
Yeah, I think so. So we will play some Netrunner next week.
Yeah, let's think more carefully about how we want to structure that for next week. I think we had got an idea that I only remembered after I started playing the Corp game, that we were going to do Runner one week and Corp the next week, and I forgot about that. But let's talk about that offline and work out how we do next week's.
That sounds good. Is there anything else we need to say before we sign off?
Thank you all for joining us. It's been wonderful. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for the games, Jessica.
Thank you for watching and for asking such incisive questions.
My pleasure. Thanks, everybody, and good night.
Good night.